This is the DRF Players Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the DRF Players Podcast. It's the July 18th, 2017 edition, show 252. I'm your host, Peter Thomas Fornatal, back with you in the Brooklyn bunker. Muggs, the handicapping Labrador, is alongside, but more importantly than that, regular co-host Jonathan Kinchin, JK, the people's champion, is on the line. JK, how are you?
It can't get any better than this. You look out the window, you see a lot of blue stuff. It's usually a good thing.
I should have mentioned, not calling in from Planet Texas today, but from Planet North County, San Diego, one of my favorite places in the world. And we're also joined today for our Del Mar preview by a very special guest making his return to the DRF airwaves. You know him from his fantastic Twitter feed with thoughts on horses in the paddocks all along Southern California. You might know him from back in the day, Horse Player Magazine, which helped give several people in racing their start, and of course, the great work he does on the Santa Anita simulcast show. He is, of course, Tom Quigley. TQ, how are you?
What's up, Peter and JK? This is a true coast-to-coast podcast. I'm happy to be with you guys, and you need to be out here, Peter. I know Saratoga is upcoming, but obviously we're very excited about opening day, which is tomorrow, where the turf meets the surf.
It's such a great place, and it is one of the regrets in life that I have, not really regrets in life, but when Saratoga went these extra 4 days, you know, it used to be a 36-day meet or whatever, and there was always a week either before Saratoga started or after Saratoga ended where Del Mar ran and Saratoga didn't. And for, I don't know, a decade, I'd say, Tom, I made it out there and had a lot of fun hanging out with the likes of you and, of course, our friend Frank Scattoni, and way back in the day when he was around, the great racing writer William Murray. All my California friends I got to see, and now I don't get to see you nearly as much. I will be at Del Mar at least once this year for the Breeders' Cup, still trying to make some magic happen to get out there for what promises to be a really interesting meet. First question for you, Tom. This is going to be a lot of stuff going on. Arrogate certainly among the biggest stories of all, with the possibility that he might run 3 times at Del Mar before the end of the year, possibly twice at this meet, and then, of course, back for the Breeders' Cup. Is there an Arrogate buzz heading into this year's Del Mar meeting?
Well, the draw is going to be tomorrow, and he's been assigned 126 pounds, which I think is a bit comical. But, yeah, there's a certain amount of buzz. Of course, the buzz right now with all the local news stations is obviously opening day with the 40,000 people in attendance. And it's a great way to kind of kick off the opening weekend by having Arrogate appear. Ironically, the Chargers are also going to be honored that same day. So since they're moving up to the Los Angeles area, Del Mar kind of took advantage of that. So I expect Saturday to be a really big day on track. Not sure, that Arrogate is the type of horse you want to bet on in the San Diego handicap, but he's going to kind of make Del Mar his home, like you said. He's going to have probably 3 races, this race, the Pacific Classic on August 19th, and, of course, the Breeders' Cup Classic in early November as 3 of his final races in his career, potentially. But there's some buzz, but certainly there's more buzz about opening day because it's just such a special day on the racing calendar here in Southern California.
TQ, I know you've been a Southern California guy for a while, even though you hail from Chicago. How many opening days will this be for you? Have you lost count, or is it a number that you remember?
Yeah, I think I got perfect attendance. I moved out here in '86, so let's say it's a perfect 31 consecutive years where I've been on track, and it's certainly grown. In the old days, they had obviously not as large a facility as they do now, and of course, Craig Dato, the marketing director here at Santa Anita, has really done a fabulous job positioning opening day as a must-attend event. Not only for the people in the immediate San Diego area, but also all the people who live up in Los Angeles. A lot of people from Las Vegas ship over for the day as well. So, if you've never been, and I know you have, if you've never been, you need to put it on your bucket list if you're listening, because you will not see so much silicone in your life, I guarantee you. No matter what club you might go to in Vegas, I can guarantee you that you will see more here on opening day, and it's literally a who's who of people within the racing industry. I've already seen Samantha Siegel out and about around town. R.D. Hubbard is in town from New Mexico. So because Saratoga doesn't run tomorrow, I expect to see a lot of people from around the racing community in attendance at opening day.
What's the secret, Tom? How did Del Mar take every meet has an opening day, and some of them are big-ish deals. But how did Del Mar get to the point where there'll quite possibly be more people there tomorrow for opening day, even than attend a day like the Pacific Classic? What was it? What made it build to this must-do event on the racing calendar?
I think there's a lot of little things that the Del Mar management team did. First of all, their kind of slogan or tagline throughout the entire meet is "cool as ever." So they kind of make it important for people in San Diego to come out and want to attend such a special event. Also, they really played upon the history that Del Mar has. Bing Crosby founded the track, and they really used that nostalgia to kind of make it seem like hip and cool. And of course, a lot of the millennials want to go back to yesteryear. They get all dressed up and they come out here dressed to the nines. They want to have a good time. They don't know much about horse racing, but they know it's going to be a good party scene. And let's face it, San Diego is not a major metropolitan area. You know, with the Chargers' departure, literally the only major league sports team they have is the Padres, which aren't doing very well right now. And so they're really able to capitalize on that because there's, people here obviously have a lot of wealth and they want to, go out and, do things from a sporting event standpoint, but the community at the moment doesn't offer them that. So, when you kind of mix all those 3 or 4 ingredients together and kind of put the magic of Craig Dato and his marketing team together, you come up with an event that literally all of Southern California wants to support. And, of course, the location doesn't hurt either, right? I mean, we're nestled up right next to the beach. You see that every day on the simulcast feed before the races start. So, it's kind of like, a good chef in the kitchen. He puts a little bit of everything together, and all of a sudden a great recipe develops. And so that's what they've done, and they've really, like you said, Peter, maximized their potential to the fullest.
TQ, from a handicapping perspective, what are some ideas or thoughts? I'm going to steal the most obvious one just to kind of give you an idea what I'm talking about, that you can kind of prepare people on the differences between, obviously Los Al, but Santa Anita and Del Mar from a racing perspective. The 6.5 down the hill is a completely different race than the 5 furlong turf sprints they'll be doing. Is there anything else that kind of grabs your attention that listeners who haven't really tackled the Del Mar meet should be aware of?
Well, there's a couple of new things, first of all, and then I'll kind of get into more of the specific things. But interestingly enough, and we already see this in the Oceanside Stakes tomorrow, the feature race on the card, now the Del Mar turf course has been widened to accommodate the Breeders' Cup. So there's actually 14 runners that are allowed to run on the turf course, which is going to be the case tomorrow on the Oceanside. There's also 2 eligibles. And like I said, they widened the turf course to accommodate the upcoming Breeders' Cup. So I think we're going to see much fuller fields, particularly going 2 turns than we've ever seen historically at Del Mar. How that plays out, I think we kind of got to keep a close eye on that, because I don't think any of us know. It could be a bit of a rodeo. We've always thought as the tight turns and the narrow turf course as kind of being a Del Mar staple. That might no longer be the case, but we'll see. But it's a great development because it makes for better betting. And then also the main track has been changed from a banking standpoint to basically duplicate or mirror image what the Santa Anita main track surface is. They've increased the banking 4.5 degrees, which might or might not be significant. We won't know until they run some races over it. But they did it with good intentions in mind, and I actually applaud them for it. They wanted to basically make horses transitioning from Santa Anita down to Del Mar to be on the same type of racing surface. And I think in the past that led to a lot of injuries because they were going from one unique surface at Santa Anita to a completely different surface here at Del Mar. Of course, like I've mentioned already, we're closer to the ocean. There might be some change in the composition of the dirt just simply because we're closer to the ocean. There's been some wives' tales about the tide affecting the main track as well. So for all those reasons, the more we can duplicate the Santa Anita main track, since we're there literally 7 months of the year, I think the safer it's going to be for horses. And, of course, historically, Peter Miller always gets off to a fast start. Evan Roman has really captured the attention here in Southern California of most racing fans simply because he was literally a throwout when he first appeared in the scene. Now he's a factor in every single race. So, you're right, though, about one thing, Jonathan. A lot of people get hung up on those sprint races at Santa Anita and think that form will translate down here to Del Mar. But it's a completely different animal. 6.5 down the hill versus a straight 5 furlong sprint with just that one quick turn is completely different from a pace dynamic standpoint, from a positional standpoint. So, that's why you see so many long shots down here, because a lot of players depend upon the Santa Anita form to duplicate itself down here, and a lot of times it doesn't. That's led to big prices in the past. We'll see if that leads to big prices in the future.
Do you think Del Mar TQ in that regard is a horse for course track more than some ovals because of those unique features and peculiarities? Now, obviously, it might change with the racing surface changing, but do you think we can count on past form at Del Mar, meaning maybe more than the recent form at Santa Anita?
I think the short answer is without question. I thought always that Del Mar was a horse-for-course type of a place that you could kind of wager on confidently. I'll tell you what, we quickly discounted Los Alamitos, but now that we have some historical data, without question, the biggest horse-for-course angle anywhere in Southern California now has become Los Alamitos. You look back through the records of some of the runners that just ran there over the last couple of weeks. Los Alamitos is definitely the number one place for a horse-for-course type of angle. But Del Mar is certainly a close second, and like you said, Peter, the jury is still out as to whether the changes this year will impact that. But that's certainly one of the easiest ways to identify contenders if the pace scenario sets up favorably for any runners you're considering with that angle.
All right, TQ, now to the good stuff. Now, we need 3 places to make reservations this weekend if we're traveling to Del Mar for the first time.
Hey, wait a second. This isn't a question for the podcast. He just wants to know for himself.
Where are we making reservations? And if we got to grab a drink somewhere, where are we grabbing a drink?
Well, the first thing is it depends on your budget, right? Because, and let's just digress for one quick second. But, people ask me, because we've all been to Saratoga and Del Mar, what's the difference between the two? And obviously everybody has their favorites. Of course, I'm biased. Peter is biased in one direction or the other. But, the easiest distinction I can make between the two is when you go to Saratoga, it's all about the horse, right? No doubt the racing is better. Horses are shipping in from all around the Mid-Atlantic area. When you go to breakfast, everybody's reading a racing form. The Hall of Fame is right across the street from the racetrack. So Saratoga, to me, is all about the horse. But when you come to Del Mar, and you guys know this, to me, of course, the racing is good, and tomorrow's card is great. But it's all about the people, right? It's all about hanging out with the people both during the races and afterwards. And that's because there's so many great watering holes, so many great restaurants, literally within just a couple-mile radius. And then if you want to go down to San Diego, which is just basically a quick 20-minute Uber ride, you're in the lap of some more incredibly delicious and luxurious restaurants. But to answer your question, assuming bankroll is no limit and you want to go out and have a good time, there's a place nearby that's a little bit under the radar called The Market. It's a must-see restaurant that you have to attend. Mike Smith is always in there, Gary Stevens, Craig Burnett, all those guys who have unlimited wallets are always seen in The Market. So you got to go there. Another place a little bit farther down in the Rancho Santa Fe area, which is also very nice, is Mille Fleur. It's a very upscale French restaurant, very intimate, very delicious, rivals a lot of places in New York City. But if you're more on an economical type of budget, there's places nearby like the Brigantine, you got Spica's, you got Jake's, you got Poseidon right on the water. It's literally, I've got a list of 45 restaurants that I try and hit every week during the 39 racing day calendar. It's almost impossible to do, but it's a great place. And if you want to drink, just go across the street to Red Tracton's. The bartender there, Jimmy, is a one-of-a-kind type of bartender. It's an old-school type of steakhouse with the red booze, and you can't go wrong no matter where you might decide to go. And, of course, now in the day of the Internet, you can just simply Yelp places and find out what might fit your budget. But it's a fun time, and that's really part of the charm of Del Mar.
Absolutely. I'll second those recommendations of Mille Fleur and Market, 2 amazing places that I'd go to if they were in New York, which is a high restaurant compliment for an obnoxious food person such as myself. Really, lots of good times out there for sure. We had some questions, TQ, that maybe you can help us with about where to watch the races at Del Mar. One was oddly specific about which level, and I don't know if you'll know this, but maybe you'll certainly have more of an insight than I will. Which level of the grandstand is the best one if you're looking to get a seat to watch races live? And then more generally, just curious about what your thoughts are on for people just sort of walking into Del Mar, where they should hang out at the plant and watch from.
Specifically, as far as what level to go to, and again, I mentioned the advantages of the internet. I would recommend the box seats on either the second or the third floor. Now, keep in mind there's some restaurants on the second floor as well. The problem you have not only at Del Mar at most racetracks is if you're down on the apron on the ground floor, not only will the tote board, but some of the other things that are in the infield will obstruct your view as the horses are going down the backside. So if you want a full view of the track, which of course you do, you want to be a little bit higher up. The fourth level is the highest level. I actually think that's too high. I think you're kind of looking down on the horses as they're coming down the lane. And so I think the more level view, which allows you a full perspective of the racetrack, is either on level 2 or level 3, which is where most of the box seats and restaurants are located. You can go on Craigslist, you can go on StubHub and find plenty of tickets, not only for opening day, but for the entire meet on both of those websites. So make sure you're either on the second or third floor. When you walk into the track, just through the clubhouse turnstiles, what you want to do is really just kind of walk around Del Mar and soak it all in first if you're a first-time visitor. Because, again, they do a good job posting pictures around the track of when Del Mar first opened up, the gates. And like I mentioned earlier, Bing Crosby founded the track. He was actually at the turnstile on opening day, allowing people in and, smoking his pipe. Jimmy Durante was a big friend of his. Pat O'Brien also was a friend of his. And there's a lot of pictures documenting those old times. And there's so many great places, as JK knows, that you can really sit out and kind of move around. You can sit on the veranda on the second level, which overlooks the paddock, which sounds like maybe it's not that great, but there's a big screen TV right there that you can watch the races from without ever going trackside. And so it's really, the infield is fun if you've got family and kids, if you want to take them out there and have them run around. So it's really what you want to accomplish as a player in terms of where you want to sit. But like I said, from a pure horse player's perspective, the second or third level facing the track in the box seats is very tough to beat.
I know the listeners really want to know is there going to be an Arcadia sighting at Del Mar this summer?
Well, there is definitely going to be, and not only is she on Twitter, but I'm on Twitter. So I will alert everybody that the boss of the Eddie Logan Suite at Santa Anita, who we're referring to Arcadia, will be at Del Mar. She's been conspicuous with her absence in previous years, but I think we've all drilled it into her head that it's important for business that she show up and make a few appearances. So I think it's on the docket for maybe week number 2, guys. But like I said, before she actually shows up, and she'll be the queen bee there in the paddock at Quigley's Corner, I'll make sure I tweet out her appearance in advance.
I might have to fly out just to get an Arcadia sighting. Indeed, in addition to the various credits of TQs we mentioned at the top of the show, he is also the VIP player ambassador at Santa Anita, and has a little bit. Arcadia, if Arcadia is the queen of the Logan Suite, I guess that makes you the king, TQ.
Well, I get all the credit, but she does all the work, as you guys well know. She's an incredible asset that the Santa Anita team has. I mean, she's there from sunrise to sunset, and maybe even later than that some days. And so she never gets in a bad mood. She's always got a smile on her face. She's one of the key assets as to why players come out on track. And, having a few weeks off, guys, let's face it, to go on track these days is almost impossible to really want to do, simply because life gets in the way. And now with, the ability to watch and wager on your phone, it's very simple to continue your life without having going to the track. And so we pride ourselves on getting a lot of people out to the track on a daily basis. And one of the reasons why is not only just the ambiance of the Eddie Logan Suite, but also the job Arcadia does and everybody else affiliated with the suite. And so we take great pride in that. Del Mar, unfortunately, doesn't have anything like that. They're owned by the state. They're on, fairground properties. We're privately owned by Mr. Stronach. So that's one big asset we have. And although right now we're all excited about the Del Mar meet, if you ever get a chance to come out to Eddie Logan, shoot me an email or track me down on Twitter, those of you listening, and I'll make sure your experience at Santa Anita is a real enjoyable one, that's for sure.
The easiest way to do that, I would say, is to win in to one of the Santa Anita contests. Going to be running qualifiers again, it sounds like, for Santa Anita's October contest. Santa Anita market leaders in live bankroll tournaments have been for a long time. An amazing experience where they really put the player first. You get that VIP treatment when you play in a Santa Anita contest, and the Eddie Logan Suite is part of that. Now, part of the reason why I think Santa Anita is so good at running contests, TQ, you're not only an accomplished contest player, but now we're seeing Santa Anita VP of Marketing, Nate Newby, getting involved in contests himself. Did you see he won his way into the Win Challenge on DRF tournaments this weekend? Have you talked to him since?
I have, as a matter of fact. He played on Saturday at, like you said, at the DRF Tournament's website. And not only did he win, guys, but if you look at the score, he basically circled the field. I think his score was twice as much as the second-place finisher. So, he kind of hides it under his hat that he's a Sharpie. But make no mistake, when he doesn't have any work responsibility, he rolls up his sleeves and gets involved with the daily racing form and handicaps a race just as good as the rest of us. And so I know he was really looking forward to going to the Win Tournament anyway. since so many of us will be there. But now he's won his way in as well, and so it's good to see because he's a real sharp handicapper. And like you said, Peter, he understands the mindset of the horse players, and I'd like to think that I do as well. And so that's one of our key competitive advantages over some of our tournament competitors is we try and make it as comfortable as possible for people coming out to play in our tournaments. We understand they're putting a lot of money through the window, and we want to recognize that. And I think we try and accomplish that better than anybody else in the nation.
I would concur, and your contest resume speaks for itself. Did you win or run second for a big prize in the Gulfstream Turfviver back in the day? Remind me what happened there.
Yeah, no, I can actually put it on Twitter. It's for those of you too young to remember, but I actually was the proud winner one year of the Turfviver tournament, which was $125,000 take all, and so that was a lot of fun. I actually have 4 tournament wins on my resume, including up at New Haven way back when at the old Auto Tote facility, which is still there, and one also in Las Vegas at the South Point Casino, which was a no-cap type of tournament. I had 4 winners over a 3-day period, but all of them were at least 25-1 or bigger. So, I don't have a chance these days to play in as many tournaments simply because at San Anita, we dominate the Southern California racing schedule. But in 2 weeks, I will be playing in 1 week, basically in 10 days from now. I'll be playing in the Del Mar Large Money Tournament where I know I'll see Jonathan and many of the other players potentially listening to this podcast as well. So I'm looking forward to playing in that one.
It's a big 1, 2, 3 coming up in the tournament world. Del Mar, 28th, 29th, the Wynn, the 4th and the 5th. And then the Saratoga, Battle of Saratoga Betting Challenge, $1,000 live bankroll tournaments on Wednesday and Thursday. There will be some crazy players who play in all 3, and we appreciate that. It speaks to the allure of tournament play. TQ, we've kept you longer than we said we would already, but if okay with you, I know JK has a question for you about some of the racing stuff that happened this weekend.
I did? I don't even remember which one.
A certain superstar horse, horse who you were poo-pooing on Twitter, JK, who Tom had a different view.
I wasn't poo-pooing. I was on the. I agree with Tom that she is special.
I believe your exact quote was, "That was impressive." Not. That sounds like poo-pooing to me. But anyway,
with a GIF on Twitter, I might add. But here's the deal, guys. Here's the deal, guys. And I mean, I know Andy wants to kind of rustle up things, and I respect Andy Serling. I respect his opinion immensely. But on the West Coast, we're always getting knocked. No small fields, nobody wins. There are a bunch of bums, and then you think back through Songbird's career, and it's been relatively short up to this point. She's beaten up, and wait till she comes to Saratoga. So she goes to Saratoga, wins twice, and suddenly it becomes who did she beat? Her resume's not that good. And I'm not saying she's one of the all-time greats. I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying give her respect up to this point because her racing campaign isn't over yet. We don't know how good she is. Have her buyer speed figures declined? Yes. Did Hollendorfer have her cranked up for the Delaware race? Probably not. Could she improve? Absolutely. So let's just, rather than be quick draw McGraw and make these conclusions as to whether she's one of the all-time greats or not. Let's just see how her career turns out first before we even start making any sort of, final decisions. And, Andy goes back to YouTube and goes over the last 20 or 30 years and pulls out all these videos. That's great. I loved all those horses too. But we just don't know how good Songbird is. We know one thing we do know, she lost by a dirty nose to Beholder in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. I thought that was a pretty strong performance as a 3-year-old. So that's my point. Maybe we're a little bit overly sensitive on both coasts because we think that our runners are the best. And there's, it's the age-old question, who's better, Oscar Robertson or Magic Johnson or Steph Curry? You could argue that endlessly. Everybody has an opinion about who might be the best point guard, in the history of the NBA. But, it makes for fun chatter, but to draw conclusions like Andy did and then kind of a few other people jumped on his bandwagon, I think it's just a bit premature. That's my only point.
All right, now I'm wishing we had Andy on the show today.
well, yeah, I mean, I think I'll be a fake Andy for a couple seconds. I agree. I actually agree exactly what TQ's saying. And it's ironically, I think that Andy does too. I think Andy's point is that he's frustrated or annoyed or whatever emotion Andy feels that the world is jumping to this conclusion that she is an all-time great. And he's conversely saying, and with a much more half glass, half empty look, that, a lot of her performances have been questionable with her speed figures and, racing, Martini Glass, beating Martini Glass a length. And so I think that I'm fine with agreeing that let's just enjoy her run. She's definitely special. Let's enjoy watching her run and see where she lands at the end of her career.
Fair enough. All right, TQ, we've kept you longer than we said. We're going to let you go, but I want to thank you immensely for taking the time out today. I hope our paths do cross this summer, and I look forward to getting the chance to hang with you soon, man.
Surf's up, boys. Always a pleasure.
Excellent. At Quigley's_corner. Be tweeting from the paddock at Del Mar just about every racing day, and very worthy follow, and one of the good guys, and does just such a great job in all facets of his horse racing and horse playing career. Thanks so much, Tom.
My pleasure, guys. Have a great meet.
Cheers. All right, that was fun, JK. You were firing off your interview questions like an old pro there. That was good stuff.
And then I forgot the Songbird one. I'll tell you what. I
couldn't have teed that up much better. I thought you were just like backpedaling and you didn't want to. You deleted the tweet and didn't want to own the opinion anymore.
No, I think a lot of people know TQ that listen to the show, or at least know of him. If you don't know him, I will say this about TQ. If there was, 25 of him to spread around this country at racetracks all over the world, we'd be better off. TQ, he takes care of the players that bet. He's also one that will take care of. I've seen him. He had a waitress one time, and her and her boyfriend came to the track, and he took them on the VIP tour as if they were like going to bet thousands that day, and really turned them into race fans. And I've had random friends that are at Santa Anita, and I've texted TQ and said, "Hey, TQ, can you take them to the paddock?" He takes them to the paddock. He takes them to the winner's circle. He gets them a picture. He takes care of everyone, and that's what this sport needs, is to help it grow, is to create new fans, but also to take care of the fans we already have.
He's a real ambassador. Yeah, Vitaly and Rachel, I believe, were those kids, and they. I wish I could plug the restaurant they work at, but it was good. Speaking of restaurants, before we get too far off that train, I do want to mention my favorite spot out at Del Mar, and this is a place. JK, let me know if you want to check this one out, because I'm friendly with the owner. The Pacific Coast Grill in Cardiff has one of the best views of any restaurant I've ever been to anywhere in the world. If you can get out there looking at the Pacific Ocean, especially if you can get in there around sunset time. Great food, great cocktails, everything about this place I just love. Pacific Coast Grill in Cardiff. It used to be down in Solana Beach, very near the track, but they upgraded their digs up to a really special space in Cardiff. People should feel free to check that out. Before we move on from Songbird, let's I understand your macro point, JK, agreeing with Tom, but what was your micro point when you sent the GIF and whatnot the other day from the Brooklyn Bunker, by the way?
Right. I just look, if you run a 93, you come home in 26 seconds, you're facing a bad field, and you get beat a length, that's like way too many things pointing to that performance was not very good. It's just way too many things. It's not like you can say, oh, well, the figure was slow. Okay, so here's what happened. And Pete, you're a card-carrying member of this, is that in the beginning when she was running slow figures, the excuse was, oh, well, she was always in a double handful, so yes, she had more. So there's more to that figure. Oh, she she controlled it. She went fast early, came home, blah, 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 all that stuff. Those excuses don't exist in this situation. The only valid excuse that you could come up with is the shit back and forth and the fact that Hollendorfer might not have had her cranked. There's one more.
I could give you a couple.
Maybe she doesn't really want to go a mile and a quarter. And she does deserve some credit for the 2 times she has done it. She still won. But the other things to me are a little bit more daunting in terms of evaluating that performance.
Yeah, I mean, it is a good point. I think worth noting that the 2 times, even though she won by a lot when she ran the 10 the other time, she was pushed out as opposed to the double hammerlock the whole way, and which she won plenty of races under. I guess she was pushed out also in the Belmont race, the Acorn this year, but that almost was like a workout. Everything about that to me seemed like a workout. The way Mike Smith let the other horse come before asking, I I'm not that worried about the Acorn. This race, I expected a little bit more of a show to be put on. If I want to make excuses, I'll give you my litany of potential excuses. Little bit too far. It was an owner-picked spot, and it was a smart, I usually make the owner-picked spot comment as a negative. But in this case, we know Hollendorfer wanted to run her in the $300,000 race in California. Porter said, no, I don't think so. We'll run for $750 in the race that I've almost won, but haven't won twice with my two best horses so far, Hardspun and Havre de Grace. We know that he wanted to run. There was a smart place to run in terms of you run against that field for $750. Makes sense. But it still just suggests to me that she wasn't, for in Hollendorfer's mind, to run in a spot like that would have wanted her to be a little bit farther along, which suggests that maybe there's a little bit farther along to have. And then the other issue, and this is something that I'm stealing more or less from our buddy Jack Jenkins, who was following Delaware much closer than we were, playing 3 tracks in the Brooklyn Bunker the other day, but suggested that the rail might not have been the place you wanted to be. And there's no doubt that she did some of her real running in that race on the rail. So you could you put it all in a hopper, and you try to look at the big picture of maybe she's going to come on from the run. It wasn't impressive. I don't think it was an impressive effort on its face, even though when a lot of horses have things go wrong, they get beat, and she still managed to win. It wasn't impressive on its face, but I do account for the possibility that there could be more to come. What do you think about any of that?
Well, the problem is that I can think of 5 fillies or mares that if they were running in that race, and you just listen, because there's a lot of variables, right? Let's just say you replace them. You just take this filly that I'm gonna name, and you put them in Martini Glass's exact trip, exact everything. There's 5 horses that beat her on Saturday, and Andy Serling is right that field of claimers should not even be close to her. Abel Tasman beats her on Saturday with the exact same trip that Martini Glass got. Stellar Wind beats her. Val Dory beats her. Forever Unbridled beats her. And Paid Up Subscriber, who gave her all she wanted at Belmont, beats her. That's 5 fillies that no one's considering great would have beat her on Saturday if they would have gotten the exact same trip that
Stellar Wind's
lasted.
Stellar Wind's very, very good, but if you're talking all-time great, I get what you're saying.
Right, absolutely.
Okay.
So I mean, I get both arguments, but I'm also not one of those people that feels the need to declare someone's greatness in the middle of their career. It's I guess it's entertaining and people feel like they need to do it. It's to me it's the same category as a top 10 Derby list. It's who gives a damn? Just bet it.
It is the great thing about our game. We get to bet these opinions, and even I, who just made a case in defense of Songbird, almost certainly the bet will be against, unless the conversation changes to the point where she somehow shows up in the field and is value. But you almost can't see that happening the way she's been bet in her career, all the attendant hype. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Hopefully she comes out of the race okay. Hopefully there's no issues, and we'll get a chance to see what she does for the rest of this 4-year-old year. A couple other races I want to touch on from the weekend, and we will finally get into our Saratoga conversation. I got several people very mad at me for having promised now 2 shows in a row to talk Saratoga stuff in the way we just talked Del Mar, and then we just haven't been able to get to it. There's been too much to talk about. But I don't want to leave the weekend's racing without talking about a couple performances. Let's start with West Coast, JK. What did you think of his effort out there at Los Al over the weekend?
Jeez, I know we were in the Brooklyn Bunker, and we played the cross country pick 4, and we hit both of our races at Belmont. Your namesake, Mr. Looms Boldly.
That's Mr. Pete.
Oh, Mr. Pete, sorry. We singled him, and we got we were alive to West Coast, and I started to head upstairs up the spiral staircase at about the 3/8 because it looked like West Coast was absolutely toast. I thought he was going to run last, and then he just levels off and wins easy. It was a really weird race. He's a really nice horse. Someone should get their Twitter license taken from them for saying that he was like Arrogate Jr. I think that's probably a little bit premature. Nonetheless, it was impressive. And it sounds like we'll see him, or you'll see him, because I don't think I'll be there, but you'll see him walk by the paddock bar towards the end of August.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of the horse. Certainly has finish, which is, great to see. Seemed like a horse that he just didn't pick up at all around the turn. It's possible this is a one-turn horse situation, given how impressively I thought he just looked more visually impressive at Belmont and really didn't pick up at all until was completely straightened out last time. It's possible that could be the key to this horse. And the mile and a quarter Travers, that's not going to agree if I'm right about that. It's also possible he just got a passive ride. I guess the most complimentary thing I could say about him regarding his chances going forward in a race like the Travers is maybe if he's in the race more from the beginning, he won't have that kind of flat spot where he sort of looked like he got outpaced almost for a little bit turning for home. Maybe if he's in the race the whole time, he can distribute the energy a little more evenly. What's your gut on how good he is?
Someone who is, TQ typically tweets West is best. Our friend Nick Tamro doesn't tweet East is best, but everyone who knows Nick knows where his allegiance is. And he's really interested in West Coast and how good West Coast is. And that endorsement alone is one that kind of catches my attention. I'm not sure how good he is. I can tell you one thing. He's going to be so stinking overbet in the Travers. It's going to be crazy. People are going to see the Baffert name. They're going to look and see what he did on Belmont Day. They're going to see what he did with Arrogate. And they're going to overbet that horse. So I don't see an opportunity where I would want to play him shipping across the country. But nonetheless, he's a nice horse, but I'm not sure where he fits. Let's see what the 3 Triple Crown winners do in their next starts. Always Dreaming, Cloud Computing, and Tapper.
Another horse who I know some people have been looking at for the Travers already is E-Rap, who ran and won impressively over the weekend. Where are you with him? I think you were cynical at one point. Has he won you over at all?
You cut out? Did he win me, or did you say did he win me over, or did he win me the Kinchin Crown? Or I didn't hear what the Kinchin Slam. I didn't hear you. Okay,
nice.
Sorry. No, I don't. I mean, I tried to beat him the other night. I don't. And how about this? I find it frustrating that they took Julian off after winning 2 races on it. He won the Grade 1 Bluegrass, then he wins the other Derby. I don't know which one it was. Derby in the middle of somewhere. And then they take him off for Mario. Mario has to have pictures of Mr. Redham or something. I don't.
Between TQ's comment earlier in the show and that one, you guys are killing me today. I love it. It is a weird thing, and you don't like to see good riders who've just given good rides get jocked off, but we have seen whatever this loyalty is. And I'll put it this way. I can't give you a better explanation of where it comes from than what you just said, JK.
It took Julian off on his birthday, too. How about that?
That's not very nice. That's not very nice.
Not at all.
So where does he – is he a horse who you'd consider – if there were future betting for the Travers, is this a horse you'd be interested in at all?
If it was in the UK and I could lay him, then yeah, I'd place a wager. No, he's good for him, good for the Redhams, good for Doug O'Neill. Pick up all the minor derbies. There's no shame in doing that. But when he steps up against the big boys, I think he'll be in trouble again.
Potential rude awakening. It was the Ohio Derby, by the way, that he won 2 back. All right, with this weekend's racing in the rearview mirror, let's talk about Saratoga. We've had a bunch of different questions about Saratoga and where to hang out. I'd love to hear your opinion as somebody who's a newer visitor to Saratoga, JK. You can probably give a very different perspective. But the advice I would give, if I were going for 2 days, I'd want to probably do 2 different kind of days. One day, I think it's important to get there and sit in that old grandstand and sort of soak up the atmosphere from that side of the track. Bring your binoculars, rent binoculars. You're going to want them. to see what's going on the backstretch. And I don't care if you can get in the clubhouse, that's great. If not, there's the grandstand. A lot of days there are tickets just available. The biggest days it's much harder, but they'll still release seats day of sometimes. It's worth going to the main ticket office, which is not, there are two entrances, two grandstand entrances on Saratoga. One basically is Union and East, and then there's another one that's east of that, and that's the one where that ticket office is. It's worth going and trying to get a grandstand or clubhouse ticket and sit there and just soak up, see that track and soak up the racing from that angle. It's a place where, and I don't even mind being away from the finish line, back down towards the turn. It's one of those tracks you can really get a great view and kind of see the momentum and see who's going to win with a quarter mile left in the race, which I just think is cool and fun. And you've got, especially if you have VINs, you get a good view of the screen out there. So I would say try to do a day like that. I would also say for sure, I mean, and this should come as a surprise to no one listening, even if you do that, you can go here at the end of the day. But spending a whole day at the paddock bar is great. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. Very often I'll just go and have kind of a standing floating day where you can get a spot right at the rail and be about 6 feet from every single horse competing on the day when they walk out of the paddock past you and onto the racetrack. That's amazing. You can grab a little high top table if you want that as a base of operations, or you can just sort of rail bird it there, which is fun. They have these little tables downstairs also. Now, these are going to be a little different this year, and you don't even know this, JK. There's going to be a minimum on them, but like for the likes of us who are going to be, if we're getting there and sitting there all day and eating and drinking all day, like we're going to make that minimum. It's not a problem. So for some of the days, like opening day, I'm just going to snag a table down there. I want to be, usually I have a couple of secret spots I tend to congregate in that I don't want to talk about on the show. If you want to ask me, if you see me up there and want to ask me, I'll tell you. But there's other days, and opening day is one of them, where I kind of want some of the chaos and vibe of being out in the open there. And the idea of talking to somebody, it would probably be Desiree at the paddock bar, to reserve a table there. She'll tell you all the details. Doing a day in the paddock bar, whether it's sitting down at one of those tables or standing at the rail, it's one of the best places, I think, in the USA to watch horse races, especially. Obviously, it's a bit weather dependent. When it's really hot, a little bit less so. Then you might want to be inside under the fan. Not a lot of AC options at Saratoga, but I would, I can't recommend the paddock bar enough, if only for a drink at the beginning and or end of the day. It's a free pour bar. It's the only free pour bar at Saratoga. So you've got great experienced bartenders there. A lot of delicious stuff going on. Shake Shack right there. I absolutely love it. What do you think, JK? What would your advice be to people going for opening day for the first time, or just new visitors to Saratoga?
Yeah, Saratoga is one of the only places, it's weird, that I go and I'm completely content without seeing a horse race live. Like it's weird because usually when I go, I'm like, I have to watch them run live. I'm here. I'll watch, if there's 10 races, I'll watch 9 of them live. I don't like watching them on the screen when I'm there. But for whatever reason, the ambiance of Saratoga is so powerful that you still feel great, not like going trackside to watch it. So the times I've gone, I broke my maiden 2 years ago. In 2015, I broke my Saratoga maiden. Every time I've gone, I pretty much have just hung out in the paddock bar. I guess there was one day that Nick and Travis and I sat in the clubhouse, but you got to wear a jacket for that. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm not feeling that for a couple of reasons. One, because it's hot, and two, because it's hot. And
I think they've been lax on that on the hot days. I saw plenty of days. It's not the whole clubhouse you need the jacket. It's just the box area. If you can get a box situation, I recommend it. You might have to throw the jacket on if it's I don't know what they've changed the official policy. All I know is I saw when it was hot last year, when it was 80 plus, there were just plenty of people. I would say they've kind of busted down the dress code now, even in the box area, to where you're looking at collared shirt and khakis. You're not going to be able to get in there in shorts or a T-shirt, but I think you can. I think you could. The jacket thing, I think they've gotten lax on, at least on the really hot days. And again, that's just the box area. You can be in a T-shirt and shorts in the clubhouse. Of course, it's one of those places when the weather's nice. I like to dress nice at Saratoga, but gosh, these last few years, you get a lot of 80-plus days where that's just tricky.
Right, absolutely. The other exciting part about Saratoga, and maybe this is an off the track and we're not ready to transition yet, so feel free to bring me back, but Uber in ride sharing is now available in Saratoga, which is an absolute game changer. I don't know if you've ever tried to order a cab. I know you have. Order a cab in Saratoga. It's a nightmare. Like, you got to call them, and then they want to come to the place, and it takes forever. And
they'll put other people in with you, like, randomly. It's not good. They don't show up a third of the time. Any taxi drivers up there listening, I'm sorry for just absolutely burying you, but it is. JK could not be more correct. Now, I haven't tried the specific Uber up there, but for me, it's one of the things I'm the most looking forward to. Not for tooling around town, it's going to save lives. Saratoga is a real party place. I remember one of the first times I met Jeannie King. She did an impression of a Saratoga zombie, which was basically somebody like stumbling home from the bar. But the problem is not everybody has the good sense to stumble when they're in that state. I've got to believe that having easier ride sharing up there is going to save lives this summer. That's an amazing aspect of it. Helping you to tool around town, that's going to be fantastic. But I think the biggest thing is the way that it opens up dining. There are good and interesting restaurants in Saratoga Springs. A few that I'll mention. I thought we had a great meal and best of all, it was at JK's expense when we went to Salt and Char with Brent Sumja last year. Did you like that place?
It was very good. I didn't like the check that much, but it was good. The food was really good.
Oh man, I took it so easy on you. Sumja was taking me on to buy, vintage 1990 vintage champagnes and things. We let you get off with a little Côte d'Aron. It was no big deal. But the steak there was super good. It was a cool, very old school atmosphere. I enjoyed that. Everybody raves about 15 Church. I've actually only been once. We had a good meal there. I think it's a little crazy on big racing nights, but I wouldn't, if you're somebody who wants to go to that place that, a lot of people are talking about, that would be in the mix. Max London's is a magnitude more chill, and you have an opportunity there to go fancy on the menu if you want, or just get small plates. I love just hanging out at the bar there. They'll have racing on, they'll have the games on, and you can get like a pizza and some mezze and, call it a day. Did you do Max London's at all when you were up there?
Yeah, we did. I think we went with Laramie and who else did we go with? Scott Carson. Yeah. There's other two that are really popular ones, but when I went there and I had meals there, I was actually like kind of pleased. It was nice. I kind of understood why they became popular, but Spiro's is good.
Ciro's?
Ciro's, excuse me.
Ciro's super expensive, but I do try to do it once a meet. The ultimate and old school racetrack. I really love the. Now my guy is gone, and I'm not sure where he is. The old piano player there, I used to absolutely love. They do have a new guy in there playing piano. I'll go check it out this year. Very fun late night inside bar scene at Ciro's historically. That was like the spot before I started having these obnoxious parties on my birthday. That was the spot we would attempt to go and karaoke along with the piano player. Very fun. But the food there is good.
What's the place downtown? I went with Duke. The one on Caroline Street. I went with Duke and his Sperry's. His son. If you see Duke's son at Saratoga, if you ever his name's Carson, ask him what he's going to eat for lunch, and I guarantee he's going to say a fillet. The kid eats more fillets than anyone I've ever seen. It doesn't matter where we are. He wants a fillet. It's hilarious.
Growing up Matisse, you get to do that, I guess. Sperry's very cool. There was a cool, very reasonably priced, cool wine list as well. Duke and I actually, it must be Duke's. Duke must go there every night because I went there with him as well, and we had a really good time. That's classic classic bar scene there. You'll see various, we won't name any names to protect the innocent, but various racing celebrities at the bar there pretty much every night, I would say. So you can go and check that out. I'd put it on the list. But if you want to get a little crazy, and it will cost, the Uber is going to be like, for what I'm about to talk about, is probably going to be like $40 Ubers. But I still think it's worth it, especially if you have a full party of people and you're going to be there for a while and you want to check some stuff out. My favorite restaurant within 100 miles of Saratoga is Peck's Arcade down in Troy. And in the past, it's been a bummer. Get there maybe once a meet because somebody has to drive. You wouldn't even consider dealing with a taxi down there. But assuming that's a $40 or $50 Uber from Saratoga Springs, and I haven't checked yet, but that is a place that I absolutely love. It's some smaller plates, and I guess you just call it sort of a farm-to-table type menu with an emphasis on smaller and shareable plates. They've got great music on the weekend. Our friend Tim McDonough, I'm not sure if he's in there this summer, but he's done some DJing in there and always plays great music. The food is just tremendous. That's a place that feels to me like spiritually should be one of the places I go to in Brooklyn all the time. So to get a chance to check it out up there is really cool. There are lots of good old school red sauce places up in the area. Pinnell's is the one in Saratoga that we go to a couple of times a meet. Really, really good. But I will also recommend, again, with the thought of Uber in the mix, Cornell's, which is down in Schenectady, I guess it is. It's also walking distance from a really good beer bar whose name I'm not going to remember right now. But I think if you Google Beer Bar Schenectady, you'll see it. It might have Monk in the name. But anyway, Cornell's, really good old school Italian red sauce, but they do some special touches like homemade cavatelli, or cavadille, as they would say, on the menu, which is a place that I always try to get to, once or twice a summer, the ability to hit there. My buddies have this new bar I'm really eager to go to. I might go opening night, actually. My opening night party might be down at the new Albany Distilling Company bar in Albany proper. That's probably another $40 or $50 Uber. This new room that they have looks amazing. Going to have a lot of live music, a lot of special tastings, all kinds of beer and booze from all around New York State. So that's, right down my street. Another place I'm going to check out. I mean, I could just go on and on and on about all the places I'm super excited about eating in Saratoga this summer. One I'll mention from a family point of view. I know we have a lot of folks who listen who have little kids, and I would say this is probably Perrin's favorite restaurant in Saratoga is Harvest and Hearth out by the lake. It's basically just pizza and salads, but very reasonable, cool views of the lake, and just super rock solid. That's our usual, if we're driving home Sunday night, we'll go to the day at the races, hit Harvest and Hearth, and then hit the road down. But anytime you're looking for sort of a mellow meal, Harvest and Hearth is one to consider. Did you get there at all? Did I drag you there?
No. I've never been there. But the pizza that I usually eat is the one that's across the street from Sperry's, and it's usually late at night, and it's usually
Andrea's.
Induced by other bad decisions I've made. What's the place downtown with the catfish and the fried chicken? The fried.
Hattie's. Yeah. Hattie's is amazing. Here's the wise guy move with Hattie's. It gets a little crazy in the summer. A lot of the Saratoga restaurants, you can run into some service issues because, for 6 weeks a year, they're just so overrun. It's hard to get the same kids who are trying hard and do a great job throughout the year can get a little bit overmatched sometimes in the summer. This does not apply to a place like Salt and Char that's like professional wait staff. But like a place like Hattie's, I mean, I'll go during the meet, but I'll try to go early or late. During the middle of service, it can be you can see some wonky things. So instead, what we'll often do, and this is, if Harvest and Hearth is what we eat before we leave Saratoga, Hattie's Takeout is probably our most common. We've just arrived in Saratoga and we're going to eat. place. So there's a second Hattie's location out by the mall that's probably even better for takeout purposes, but they'll also let you do takeout at the one right there in the heart of town. So that's something to think about if you've got, especially if you're in a house. If you're in a house that has a little backyard and it's nice, you get there, you can sort of set up your little like impromptu picnic with Hattie's food, and it's I think it's my favorite fried chicken, and I know there's a lot of good fried chicken out there, but I really love the way Hattie's does it. It's legit, and it's something that should be. I'm so glad you mentioned it, JK, because it should be on everybody's list of places to check out. I also think we should talk about bars. You have any experience in bars or clubs up there?
Yeah, I just go to the bars that serve alcohol.
Just those.
No, I've like you mentioned, the Ciro's bar is cool after everything gets rolling. All the restaurants you mentioned have a good bar scene. Sperry's obviously the kind of little outside area with the fountain. I remember the first time I went there, I saw like Mike Smith and like 7 other prominent racing personalities. So that was always an interesting one. And then just on Caroline, there's just a million like little bars right up and down there. The night that it gets really crazy to go out, which is weird. I mean, it's not weird. It makes sense, but is Monday night in Saratoga. That's like the Saturday night Vegas night where people are out and they really get after it because Tuesday is dark. So most of the people that are around working or surrounding the horses don't have nearly the responsibilities they have on Tuesdays.
That's exactly right. Monday night, a very fun night to go up. Few bars I'll mention. Rapid Fire. One of those bars in the vicinity JK was just talking about, assuming it's still functional. City Tavern has this cool roof bar that I recommend people check out, especially on a nice night. It's not like great from in my opinion, not like blow me away from drink and cocktail and wine and beer perspective. It's not bad. But it's worth going there for a drink just to like look over all of Saratoga. Kind of a fun one if you're looking to impress somebody with a view. Lake Local. Did you make it there? There's a local over on the west side. There's also one out by the lake, and that's just a really cool view. It feels like a bar at like the summer camp you went to when you were in 8th grade almost. There's people in kayaks and various outdoor activities and some camper type people all around you, but it's a great view, and again, not like a blow away cocktail and beer situation, but rock solid and a really cool place to soak up the atmosphere for beer, and also really good food. Actually, don't be afraid to have a meal at Henry Street Tap Room. They've got a beer list that typically rivals the great beer lists of bars in Brooklyn, and a menu that I would sort of say is modeled on a place you might find in Portland, Oregon. You'll have some farm forward little plates. You'll have oysters. You'll have just sort of like a really good upscale version of pub food, but with a nod toward the local farms that I appreciate. And then for cocktails, got to mention Hamlet and Ghost. They also have food. I haven't eaten there. We did a little event for the book for Brooklyn Spirits there last year. Maybe we'll do another one this year. Do a Brooklyn Spirits night, make some cocktails from the book. But they make some terrific drinks at Hamlet and Ghost. So where do you? All right, I've mentioned like 9 million places, JK. Of the places I just talked about, where sounds exciting to you to check out on your visit to Saratoga this year?
Pete, you know how I am. I just let you direct me. I really do. I'm being honest. You just tell me to go there, I go there. I'm more of a people. I'm more interested in the people I get to hang out with. So if I get invited to go somewhere, and it happens to be good, then that's great. I just want to. It's so much fun to meet new people that are involved in racing. That's why Saratoga is so great. I always talk about tournaments. Why I love tournaments, because I've met so many people. Saratoga is the same way. I usually come home with 10 to 15 new acquaintances that have a common interest, like that finds all of us listening to and recording this podcast. So that's the best part about Saratoga to me. It's all about the racing. You can be at an expensive dinner and talk about racing from start to finish, and you typically aren't going to offend anyone. And And so it's that's what makes it so great. I'm looking forward to. I'm just looking forward to some steak. Really, there's a lot. I mean, I pretty much panic and order the steak everywhere I go because I get nervous. I'm going to order something I don't like. I should probably expand my horizons a little bit. But
we'll work on that. We'll work on that this summer. It'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to having you up there. I'm
hopeful that I can avoid a trip to Uncommon Grounds where they ask me like 17 questions about your coffee and I didn't know. They're like, well, do you want this? I was like, I don't know. Do you want that? Do you want ice in it? Well, do you want a little bit of ice? Or I mean, I was struggling when I was trying to be a good house guest and grab you a coffee once.
That's hilarious. I do love Uncommon Grounds, though. Great place to work in the morning. My buddy Brian Nato and I chopped up many Saratoga cards sitting in Uncommon Grounds, and I've actually written large swaths of several books in that place. It's sort of can be my mobile office. Sometimes the internet doesn't work so good though, so be careful about that. That's a more recent problem, obviously not from when I was writing there all the time, but hopefully they'll have that ironed out by the summer. Very good coffee. No reason to go to Starbucks in Saratoga when you can check out the likes of Uncommon Grounds. We're out of time, JK. I do want to give one quick shout out before we leave today, and it is to, of all creatures, Muggs, the handicapping Labrador. I think she deserves credit for her Lassie routine the other day. Do you know what I'm referring to?
She did. She saved me. She knew I was in trouble.
It was sort of like, how Lassie on the show would bark, "What is it, girl? Timmy, stuck in a well?" Well, on I guess it was Sunday, JK was not stuck in a well, but he was stuck in the doorstep. I don't know what you did to my front door, but the Uber's waiting. You couldn't get out. You were going to miss your flight. A whole series of terrible things was going to happen. Muggs came, barked at me. I went and let you out. And the next thing you know, you've left the Brooklyn bunker and are safely out in San Diego. Good stuff, eh?
Yeah. Muggs owes me for the numerous and bountiful walks we took through.
You did spoil her.
Yeah, I think she was just I think she probably wanted me to come back in thinking she had another shot at a long walk. So
when you get back, if you can steal a T-bone when we go to Salt and Char for her, I think we'll call it even. All right, that's it, folks. I want to thank Jonathan Kitchen. I want to thank Tom Quigley. I want to thank everybody for listening and sending in questions. I know we highlighted a lot of food and drink stuff and experiential stuff for Saratoga. Didn't talk too much about handicapping. I promise, though, we'll continue to be talking all about the Saratoga and Del Mar meets and experiences on the shows over the course of the next 7 weeks or so. We're going to have a lot of great guests. Hope you will come back and join us then. We will be back. Will we be back on Friday morning? Does that work for you, JK?
Yeah. We'll be back Friday morning, and I think that this is going to be our first of many appearances from none other than NYRA handicapping connoisseur Nick Tamero.
Oh, I wish we could tell the story about how our relationship with Nick Tamero made us seem like rock stars. We'll save that one for Friday. We'll tell him on air, and we will see you then. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatal. May you win all your photos.